Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Handbags, Manbags, Bumbags podcast. This week, you rejoin us for episode 24 and a half, in a way.
24B, we'll call it.
We'll call it 24B. That's a good way to put it. So you will have seen part one of our what each Premier League club needs to do to strengthen in the summer. We got to Liverpool as our final club that we managed to do in episode one of this little segment. So we'll go straight into Manchester City, the current Premier League champions. And Manchester City will probably spend another 300 or so million this summer. And one of those players that I think they'll spend a lot of money on is a certain Harry Kane. I think he's one player that City need. They certainly need a striker with Sergio Aguero off to Barcelona, by the looks of it. And he just fits the mould of Manchester City, I think. I don't know why.
I totally agree, because he's such a creative player, but he's also a goal scorer. He suits City down to the ground.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then just for the sake of it, the other two I've got the direct replacements, really. So I've got Benjamin Mendy going out at Manchester City. The other out I've got is Nathan Ake. I've got Benjamin Mendy to go out, and the direct replacement I've got for him is Theo Hernandez from AC Milan.
very good shout.
Yeah,
Probably getting
quality from Milan, isn't he?
Probably getting for about 70 million now in Manchester City. So, and then the final one, I've gone for a direct replacement for another out, which is Fernandinho, because I think he's may well be retiring at some point or leaving Manchester City. And I've got as a direct replacement for him, Corentin Tolisso from Bayern.
Yeah, decent shout, to be fair.
Yeah. I've gone much more obvious for Man City. You put much more thought into it than I have.
Go on then.
Go on, Rob.
Okay, then I've also gone Benjamin Mendy out, because I think it makes sense. Not really reach the same level, and probably get like 50 million from PSG for him or something, because I think they need a left back. I've then struggling for other outs, so I went Tosin Adarabioyo because I've already said him to go out to Villa. And I've also just said Scott Carson, because you don't really need him, do you? It's just extra money you're paying every week for no reason.
Come on, he's a regular starter at Manchester City.
And then my three in, I've basically just gone for the three people they're linked with, because for the only time in the whole podcast, somebody is appearing twice for multiple clubs, because I've gone, because I'm aware how unrealistic Harry Kane was as a Liverpool target, so I've put him as much more suited to Man. He's also very suited to Man City, and that's realistic, so I've gone with that. For a left back, I've then gone with Nuno Mendes, purely because I know they've been in talks, and I think we're looking at a £50 million bid maybe. And I've also gone Fabian Ruiz as somebody else they are very closely linked with. I'm not sure how much they would need a new midfielder, but I know it looks like that will be over the line by the end of the summer.
Interesting young choices you've picked there.
I've got the exact same three ins as Rob, so. But then I've got two of the same outs, Scott Carson and Benjamin Mendy, but then I've also got Liam Delap, because he was top scorer in the Premier League too. So I feel like giving him a lower league Premier League side to go to would probably be beneficial for him.
Suit a top side Championship club, because as you said in part one of this episode, you said Adam Armstrong to go to Brighton, I believe.
Yeah.
Liam Delap to Blackburn.
That's a potential, yeah. But also, I have got him going to a Premier League club later on.
Oh,
so
okay then. Well, we'll get to that at some point.
I agree. I think a loan will do him good this year to push on from the season he's just had in the Premier League too.
Absolutely. It will never be the ultimate GOAT Delap, because that will always be Rory. But he may well get close. So let's move on to the final team of supporter clubs on this podcast, and it is Manchester United, and we have a resident United fan in the form of Jake, so I will let you lead on this one.
Well, I'm in dreamland here, because my ins are Varane, Sancho and Declan Rice. They would be three perfect signings, but I just know they're never going to happen. So
realistically, I think two of them could be realistic. I think Sancho is probably the highly likeliest of all of them.
Yeah.
And I think Varane's probably second on that list.
Yeah, Rice is the least likely.
they're the two I've also got in at Manchester United. I've got Sancho and Varane coming in, but then I also went for a different midfielder. I went for Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon as a direct replacement for Fred, realistically, because Fred is one of the ones I've got going out at Man United.
We desperately need a new midfielder because Fred are just so average. Because my 3 outs are Matic, because he's aging now, and apparently Mourinho wants him at Roma, so I can see him linking up there.
And he lost his leg a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and he would suit the Italian league down to the ground now. Martial, because he's been pretty poor this season. It looks like he's fell out of favour. I know he's injured, but he just hasn't played as much as what I thought he would. And then I've also got Dean Henderson going out, because De Gea and Dean Henderson won't both be there next summer. And I feel like De Gea's a better keeper, and we could get more money for Henderson anyway, so shipping on.
It's a good Man United analysis there from Jake.
That was my logic. So I have my outs, because I've also gone Anthony Martial. And then I originally had down either goalkeeper, but then I thought you'd probably get more money for Dean Henderson, and I would argue De Gea had a better season. So I've settled on Henderson to go out, and then I've just, similar reasons to Matic, chucked Mata on there, doesn't really play and has no legs anymore because he's completely lost all his pace and stuff.
Yeah, the interesting thing with Martial now is because he will now be below Mason Greenwood in the pecking order because of the good season that Mason Greenwood's had towards the back end of this year. And he's just not going to want to stick around, is it really? He's still young, Martial. There's no question about that. But he's either going to go either to Spain or back to France, I reckon.
Yeah, well, he started this season as our main number 9. He's got 4 goals in the league, and that is just not good enough whatsoever. So,
and weren't 2 of them in that 9-0 win over Southampton?
Yeah.
Deary me. Well, the other 2 to Fred that I've got going out at United are Dan James, because I think a loan would suit him well. And I've also got a centre-back to go out in Eric Bailly, because he's no questioning when he's on it, but he's too injury prone.
Yeah, he's made of glass, literally. Any little knock and he's out for like 3-4 weeks at a time. It's just silly. And the fact that, I know you've got him going out, but Manchester United are giving him a new contract as well, which just absolutely baffles my mind.
I know.
Yeah, I've my ins quickly. I've gone Sancho because it looks like I'll get over the line. The only issue is that apparently Chelsea are interested, and I feel like Abramovich has more pulling power. I've then gone Rice, however unrealistic it is. I just think he needs to step up from West Ham, and it fits United. And United makes the most sense for me. And then I've gone a different centre-back purely because I had Varane down, then changed my mind and thought, I think he'd work better at Chelsea. So I've gone Jules Koundé at Sevilla. Very impressive young centre-back, had a brilliant year out in Spain.
Well, he is somebody we have been linked to heavily, so there's definitely potential for that to happen.
And again, one of the ones that I said to come in at Chelsea would possibly suit United quite well. Pau Torres, I think he'd be a good one to come in at United.
We've been linked to him as well,
that's the standard United strategy. Aiming for Varane, end up taking Pau Torres because he's 40 million cheaper.
We've been linked to every centre-back under the sun at the moment.
Yep. But anyway, let's move on from Man United and we'll go to another United. And this United is Newcastle United. Now, Newcastle are a club that definitely need to do some business. And the 3 I've got going out are pretty much dead meat. Dwight Gale, Federico Fernandez, and Jeff Hendrick I've got to go at Newcastle. Ever since Jeff Hendrick left Burnley, it's just he started the first 2 games well for Newcastle, but since then he's done sod all.
Yeah, I don't really know why they signed him. I don't know what other result were they expecting than what's happened.
Just a money save, wasn't it? Free transfer.
Was a free transfer. True. Bit of extra legs. And then Dwight Gale and Federico Fernandez just don't play regularly enough, and they can do better.
Yeah, so my 3 outs are Paul Dummett, because I don't know how he still plays Premier League football on a regular basis.
Send him to the chip.
Yeah, that is his level. Yeah. Joe Linton, because he's just a shock for how much they signed him for.
40 million, and he's got about 10 goals for 2 seasons. That's dreadful.
Probably less than that, to be honest. And then Christian Atsu, because I can't remember the last time he played for Newcastle. So,
yeah, I've gone with Andy Carroll, the first one out, because just sits on the bench every week, sits on the bench, never comes on. Better to have him off the wage books. I then got Isaac Hayden, although he does play semi often, but I just think he can get better. especially with Newcastle have a bigger budget than a lot of the teams around them. You could sign somebody better. And I've got on Javier Mancia again. Did play kind of regularly at the start of the year. Now been replaced by Jacob Murphy since they moved to wing backs. And again, you can buy better with Newcastle's money, really. I haven't actually named. I've not named a replacement, but
just to confirm what we were going on about Joe Linton, it was worse than we first thought. 6 Premier League goals in 2 seasons justifies every reason why Newcastle have to get rid and get a new striker in.
To be fair, one of them did get him a win over Spurs at the start of last season.
True, but still, he's not good and he's not justified the price tag. So the 3 I've got coming in at Newcastle, I've got a Liverpool player coming in the form of Xherdan Shaqiri. I think he'd suit Newcastle quite well. I also feel that they need to bring Joe Willock in on a permanent deal. Now, I know that Arteta's come out and stated that he's part of his plans for next season, possibly. But I feel like he just needs to be signed permanently by Newcastle. And then a defensive midfielder in the form of Hamza Chowdhury from Leicester City. I know they were linked with him over the course of this season. But whether they can get him in on a permanent is another matter.
Yeah. I've also got Joe Willock coming in, but mine would be just another season-long loan because I feel like Arsenal would want quite a bit for a permanent transfer, and I feel like Joe Willock has shown that he's probably too good for Newcastle in the long run. I've just changed my mind as well. I'm going to bring in Nat Phillips for Newcastle because I feel like they need a centre-back, and then Robin Quaisance from the Bundesliga because I feel like they need another attacker to help Callum Wilson.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I haven't gone with Joe Willock purely because I think that's the reason why I didn't go with another defensive midfielder at Arsenal, because I think he should be playing with Thomas Partey as the 2 in their 4-2-3-1 they usually set up him. I think Mikael Arteta should be playing him more often. I was tempted to cop out and not put down a signing and just put start Willock, but I didn't. And then, so the 3 I have gone with, I've gone Tammy Abraham because I think they need another goal scorer because Callum Wilson's always injured, unfortunately for him, and Abraham looks like he's on his way out. And then the other 2 we've mentioned earlier on, but for different clubs, in John Egan at centre-half, and then Dan Juma from Bournemouth as a winger because, again, better than Ryan Fraser, isn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting decisions. So let's move on to the first of the promoted sides, the confirmed promoted side, and it is Norwich City. Now, this was absolutely impossible for us to pick 3 to go out. Judging by our playoff previews the previous week, we have no knowledge of the EFL whatsoever. So
it's so difficult to do Norwich. Because we were clueless, I googled some Norwich transfer rumours. Norwich are linked with a Bosnian midfielder from the Croatian league, and how are we supposed to go? How we don't have any knowledge on those sort of leagues, so we've just gone players we've actually heard of because Norwich transfers are pretty much Bundesliga 2 and random leagues like Croatia, which we have no knowledge about.
The 3 I've gone out at Norwich, I've gone Lucas Roop, couldn't cut it the first time Norwich were in the Premier League. I've gone Onel Hernandez, and then Max Aarons because he's far too good for Norwich.
Yeah. So I've also got Max Aarons going out. I've also got Emi Buendia because he's also far too good for Norwich. And I've got Jordan Hugo because he's just terrible.
Yeah, I've got the exact same 3 as Jake. Just blatantly then take the money for Buendia and Aarons because they're better than Norwich. And then Hugo's just the definition of Championship, but not Premier League.
Yeah. So the 3 I've got coming in at Norwich, I've got a new goalkeeper coming in because Tim Krul is getting older now. I've gone for Jack Butland to come in from Palace. Now, I don't know whether he'll be more of a regular at Palace next season, judging by Guaiza and Hennessy are both 30 plus. But I feel like he'd be a sort of good player for Norwich. And the other 2 I've gone for John Egan because I think they do need a centre-back. And then an interesting one, I don't think it'll happen, but I think it'd be good for Norwich. I've gone for Lucas Toussaint from Hertha Berlin. He's a rotational player at Hertha, but he'd certainly make Norwich stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, so my 3 ends at Norwich. This is where Liam Delap comes in as a striker because Timu Pukki is the only goal scorer they have on the side. So they need... he's he's the only one that scores goals, so they need somebody to help him. I've also got Bittencourt from the Bundesliga, and then Kevin Mawald. He's a defensive midfielder from the Bundesliga as well.
You've definitely just put that out of midair.
Yep.
I've gone for 3 Englishmen to come in at Norwich. I've gone with Adam Reach because he's not extended his contract to Sheffield Wednesday due to their relegation to League One, and he's a top tier Championship player, and I think deserves a shot in the Premier League.
Mhm.
And obviously he can cover fullback and winger. And then I've also gone for another fullback in Joe Bryan, just because he seems like one of those. You just get those odd players like Nathan Redmond's one of them that just always seem to get a move, but you're not overly sure why when the team gets relegated. And I can see Joe Bryan doing that, and I think could do a job at Norwich at left back, to be fair, if back up, if nothing else. And then someone else has been mentioned. You mentioned Liam Delap as a loan. I've gone for a loan from the different Manchester club in James Garner, because thoroughly impressive at Nottingham Forest in the second half of the season. And I think needs to step up in the Premier League. And to be honest, I don't really know where else to put him. And I was really run and dry with Norwich, but I think he could do a job.
Solid shouts. So let's move on to the Saints now, Southampton. And the 3 I've got going out, I've got Danny Ings to go out because I think he needs to get to a bigger club. He's too good for Southampton. And he's got a sort of Arsenal or Spurs vibe to him, but we'll see how that escalates. I've also got Alex McCarthy and Nathan Redmond to go out. Nathan Redmond's one of those players that you're not sure about because he has his moments in the Prem, but he's just not that good. And then they just need a new goalkeeper, Southampton.
Yeah, so I've got 2 of the same outs as you, Ben. I've got Ings and McCarthy because Ings is too good for Southampton. He needs to play higher up in the Premier League. And then I've also got Oriol Romeo because he's fell out of favour now. And
he was one of the ones I was questioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost his spot to Ibrahim Diallo, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gone to, again, Danny Ings because I think, well, for reasons we'll get onto in a bit later, I could see him end up at Spurs if Harry Kane leaves. I then got Alex McCarthy as well because they're more likely to get a buyer for him than they are Fraser Forster, and one of them has to leave. And I've gone Moussa Djenepo just because I just don't think he offers enough, to be honest. I think he's a decent player on the ball, but I don't think he gets enough goal contributions because I think somebody like Nathan Redmond might not look as good when he plays, but he gets more goal contributions. So they need a better winger than him, I think.
Absolutely. So
the ins I've got not telling him to sign one.
The ins I've got coming in at Southampton, I've got Sam Johnston as their replacement goalkeeper. I've got Rico Henry coming in, who I know one of you, I think both of you said coming in at Brighton. I've got him coming in at Southampton as Ryan Bertrand's replacement. And then as Danny Ings' replacement, I've got one proven goal scorer to another. I've got Wout Weghorst coming in from Wolfsburg.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I've also got Sam Johnston coming in because they need a new keeper because McCarthy and Forster just don't cut it. I've got Kasper Dolberg as Ings' replacement because I just was scouring Europe and he felt like a Southampton sign-in. And then Thomas Delaney because Rob was telling me that apparently he wants to link up with Hasenhüttl again, so I just
don't know why.
Put him in there.
Yeah, basically, I was looking around. I did see Thomas Delaney, so I've got him to come in because apparently he's an admirer of Ralph Hasenhüttl. Obviously, he used to be the Leipzig manager when they first broke into the Bundesliga, and also has fallen out of favour. He's been replaced by Jude Bellingham at Borussia Dortmund, and obviously loads of players will see the appeal of the Premier League. I've then gone. They need a left back, obviously, with Ryan Bertrand moving on. And this time around, so I've just gone for somebody they'll be able to get on a free that Spurs want rid of in Danny Rose. Alternatively, you could get either Ben Davies or Danny Rose. Didn't really know which one. We're going to go either or there. And then I thought of another striker. If you could see Danny Ings go, and I thought recruit from the Championship as a Southampton thing to do. So I've gone Lucas João from Reading. I think 17 goals this year or something like that. Very impressive season. Obviously, missing out on the playoffs means their players open to get nabbed, as we've already mentioned, Elise in the part one of this.
Yeah, very good shout. Very good shout. Yeah, Southampton are a club that definitely need to strengthen because defensively they've not been great this season. Going forward, there's no question they're brilliant. Danny Ings, you've got players like James Ward-Prowse as well. Even Takumi Minamino when he's been Stuart Armstrong as well. Minamino when he's been fit and actually on it, has been a brilliant loan signing for Southampton. But Now, defensively is where they need to improve. And another team that needs to improve defensively is, in fact, Tottenham Hotspur, who we are coming to next. And the first big profile departure I've coming in at Tottenham is Hugo Lloris, because, quite frankly, I think he's very overrated. And he's old now.
Yeah, I agree.
And the other two I've got Davinson Sanchez going out because he hasn't cut it in the Premier League at all. And also Eric Lamela because he's useless.
I've also got Lamela going out as well for the exact same reason. But I've also got Harry Kane, so I just feel like it's time to move on and try and rebuild. Because he wants to leave, it's clear and obvious. And then I've also got Danny Rose because he just hasn't played in 18 months or whatever for them. So it's time to shift him on, isn't it?
Yeah, I've also gone Danny Rose, and then again, obviously, I've sent him to Southampton. I haven't gone Harry Kane, although I think he will go. I've gone with Ryan Sessegnon because he's had an all right season, not particularly impressive on loan. I think he kind of lost. He's losing that bit of star appeal he had when they first signed him. So at least send him back out on loan. And then an unpopular. This might be an unpopular one with Spurs fans. The state of their defence. I've said to sell Juan Foyth on a permanent after he's impressed on loan at Villarreal. It might be unpopular because he's probably performed better in Spain than a lot of their defenders have, notably Davinson Sanchez. But I've gone to let him go on a permanent.
That's interesting because I've got a player coming in at Tottenham who's impressed on loan from a Spanish club, and that's Jean-Claire Todibo, who's been impressed on loan at Nice. I've got him coming in on a permanent at Tottenham to bolster their defence up, and he'd partner well with Alderweireld. As much as it pains me, I've also got Nick Pope coming in at Tottenham because I think
that's Nick Pope is where I mean Tottenham is where I would see Nick Pope going, but I've not got him as one of my three.
As much as it pains me, I do think he will go to Tottenham if we cash in on him. And then the final one, I know you've said this player to go to Leicester. I've got him going to Tottenham. I've got Ismaila Sarr going off to Tottenham.
Yeah.
Hasty little winger.
Something they need, yeah. So I've also got Nick Pope in at Spurs because for the same reasons. Lloris is getting on now and he's very error prone.
Well, to be fair to Nick Pope, he is 28 as well, so they probably could get someone younger.
Yeah, but Nick Pope could probably have another 7 years, whereas he's like 7 years younger than Lloris, isn't he? So to get a good few years out of him. I've also got Danny Ings as Harry Kane's replacement. They need somebody to score goals in the Premier League, and he can do that on a regular basis. And I've also got Joachim Anderson because I just saw that he was linked to them recently, so they need another defender.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I've gone down a very similar route. I think if Nick Pope is to leave, like I'd put him to, I think Spurs is the most. I could see them doing a sort of De Gea Henderson situation United have been doing this year with Lloris and Pope. But I wasn't confident enough at that going through, so he's not in my three. I've gone with Joachim Anderson, because he was very impressive at Fulham this year and can play higher. I've also gone Danny Ings, so I think it's the most logical replacement. Although I was saying to you two that earlier on that I think if had he not had his unfortunate injury, I think that one definitely would have been Raul Jimenez would have been target number one. But obviously he's might not come back the same player. And then somebody else I've gone with two strikers in because I think they'll need two to replace Harry Kane. So I've then gone with Dusan Vlahovic. Sure, I don't know how you pronounce it.
Vlahovic, I think.
Vlahovic. Because he's 21 years old and he's had a brilliant season. Like, similar, we were saying with Adam Armstrong, how many goals he got for a mid-table side. It's a similar situation in Serie A, and he's only 21, so I think...
Yeah, he got 21 goals.
Almost in a future buy as well. So you could have Danny Ings as the main one. I think he between him and Carlos Vinicius, they'd easily provide enough cover for if and when Danny Ings is injured.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got 3 W's to do now. We've got Watford, West Ham and Wolves. And we come on to the second promoted side, which is indeed Watford. And I'll say the 3 that I've got out at Watford, which are in fact Andre Gray, just because I still hate him. I've got Kiko Feminier because he couldn't cut it in the Prem last time. And also Christian Cabaselli. He couldn't cut it in the Prem last time.
Yeah. I've also got Andre Gray because I just do not think he's good enough for the Premier League. Tom Cleverley, same reason. He's just a sideways passing merchant, pretty much. Adds nothing to the team. And then Ismail Assar, because he's too good for Watford, but I think he'll probably go abroad, maybe like Dortmund or something like that, as maybe Sancho's replacement.
Great shout, that, actually.
Yeah.
Great shout.
I've also gone Ismail Assar because I think he's now getting the point he's too good for Watford. I was surprised he stayed for the Championship last season, to be honest. I've then also gone Andre Gray, just another situation where I think you can get better, to be honest. And then I've gone with Isaac Success. Just never, despite his name, never been a success at Watford, as they say.
Yep. So the three I've got coming in at Watford, I've got the striker I've got coming in is Mbai Diagne, who's impressed whilst on loan at West Brom this season, to come in on a permanent from Galatasaray or even a loan, because I think he'd suit Watford very well. I've also got a new goalkeeper coming in because I think they need one, because Daniel Bachmann's not going to be good enough to lead Watford in the Premier League in goal. So I've got someone coming in from their joint club in Udinese. I've got Juan Musso coming in from Udinese to Watford. And I've also got Joachim Anderson coming in at Watford, although I do think he can go to a better club.
Yeah, 3 positions that they need. Well, I've also got Diagne coming in because he is linked to Watford. I've also got Ashley Young coming in on a free because I saw a couple of weeks ago that apparently he's in talks to come back to Watford. So would make sense. Another year in the Premier League for Ashley Young, then maybe retire or something like that. And then I've got Jean-Victor Makengo from Udinese because I think they need another midfielder to replace Cleverley.
I've obviously I mentioned earlier, or I mentioned in part 1, that I would send Harvey Elliott out on loan to a Premier League club, and I think that's a logical replacement for Ismail Assar, similar sort of player down the wing. Again, good season in the Championship. Also gone for Mbai Diagne because again, I've saw they were apparently Watford are the favourites because he does want to stay in the Premier League. And then I've gone for a young up-and-coming player from Scotland at Watford, apparently making target number 1 in Josh. I think it's Doige, you pronounce it, from Hibs.
Josh Doige. Something like that.
Something like that. How do you pronounce it?
So.
Yeah. But Watford apparently, despite the relatively low price tag he'd cost, apparently he's one of Watford's most important targets for the summer. And obviously, I think he would, a fullback, I think, would probably replace Kiko Femenia in the starting 11.
I think another player that would suit Watford quite well, another Scotsman actually, is Lewis Ferguson from Aberdeen. Because I know he said he wants out at Aberdeen because he wants the opportunity to play either in the Prem or at a bigger club. And I think like Watford's the sort of club that would actually suit him quite well.
Yeah. Agreed.
But let's move on to the penultimate side in this roundup. And it is West Ham United, the surprise package of this season's Premier League. And the 3 I've got going out there, 2 of which I don't think have very played at all this season, barely. Yarmolenko and Fredericks. I think they're 2 that they just need to cash in on and get rid of. 2 injury prone and don't play regularly enough. And then Issa Diop because he's not good enough and they can get better.
Yeah, that's fair. I've also got Yarmolenko, injury prone, just not good enough. I've got Bob Wainer as well because Shane, when they had injuries at centre back, he wasn't good enough. And then I've also got Declan Rice going out because I wanted to go to Manchester United.
Hopeful.
Yep.
Very hopeful.
I've also gone Andriy Yarmolenko because I think the name that comes up if you ask people is, has anybody underperformed at West Ham and the good season they've had, and his name comes up a lot. I've also gone Fabian Balbuena because I actually disagree. I think Issa Diop, he's still quite young. I think he could fight his way into the West Ham team, but Balbuena, no, I think he needs improving on. And then I've gone with Felipe Anderson because he showed glimpses but never really showed his form at West Ham. And obviously then they've loaned him out and had a much better season, so he might have spent, and I think he's impressed at Porto as well, so take the money for him. You clearly don't need him how well they played this year.
Agree with those. So the 3 I've got coming in at West Ham, I feel they need to get Jesse Lingard on a permanent. The way he's thrived in that West Ham team is quite brilliant, actually. And he's certainly been a very good addition to that West Ham side. I've also got Ivan Toney in. Now, this is all dependent on whether Brentford get promoted to the Premier League. because he'd worked brilliantly alongside Mikel Antonio. But if Tony does go up with Brentford, I've got Tammy Abraham coming in at West Ham. And then the replacement centre I've chosen Mark Bartra from Real Betis. I feel like he'd work well for West Ham, actually.
Yeah, they definitely need another centre back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've also got Ivan Toney coming in at West Ham, but the same permutations as Ben. If Brentford go up, he stays at Brentford, and then they can get Tammy Abraham in instead. I've got James Tarkowski coming in at West Ham because I think he's going to leave Burnley, and West Ham's probably the only club that really suits him because he'll probably want to play Europa League football, and West Ham are going to have that next season. And I've also got Boubacar Kamara from Marseille as a replacement for Declan Rice.
I was going to say Jesse Lingard, but for the similar sort of reason I was saying with Joe Willock, I just don't see it actually happening. So I've gone with a more likely option than Matthias Pereira from West Brom. I've also gone Ivan Toney for the same reason we've already said. And then for centre back, I've got two options, but I couldn't narrow it down. I've gone Craig Dawson on a permanent because I think that has to be done, and I just wanted to mention that even though not quite, it's just missed out on my three. And then I've gone James Tarkowski from Burnley.
I hate you both. Never leaving. But I, as much as I hate to say it, I do think Tarkowski has to leave to get a good chance. Is at that stage he has to move on from Burnley. Yeah. As much as I love it, and he's been an absolute Trojan for Burnley over the years. It's about time he moved on, and I think West Ham would be
for the good of his
for
career,
him.
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think West Ham's the most suitable place. Although I had to get in Craig Dawson on a permanent for the season he's had as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, final club of this roundup, then we've got Wolves. And Wolves are a team that have had a poor season, really. Yes, they've been riddled with injuries, but a lot of players haven't been cutting the mustard. And our good friend Sam Gollings from our course, he also gave us 3 players that he wants out at Wolves. And those 3 were Rui Patricio, Roman Saiz, and Leander Dendoncker. 2 of them first-team regulars. Dendoncker is a bit of a rotational player. But interesting decisions from Mr. Gollings, I think.
Patricio surprised me, to be honest. We were obviously discussing it before we got the expert opinion from a Wolves fan. I already had down Roman Saiz because I just think Max Kilman's better. And for some reason, Saiz plays over him. I think whoever comes in to replace Nuno will definitely need to give Max Kilman more game time. And then Dendoncker I can see because again, just a rotational player really. He's not on the level of Ruben Neves or João Moutinho really, and you could probably get a cheaper replacement really.
Yeah, it's
Morgan
interesting.
Gibbs White's coming through as well. He looks probably better than him, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just for the reference, Sam did tell us that he would like Renato Sanchez in, but that was being very ambitious. He also said Joachim Anderson to come in. And as a double Fulham sweep, he also said Alphonse Areola is Rui Patricio's replacement, which would work. They'd all work. But I didn't have any of those players. The 3 I had going out at Wolves were Willy Bolly. I also had João Moutinho and Daniel Podence.
Interesting.
So I had Patrick Butrone, I forgot to say, as my other one going out.
Yeah, I think Podence has done all right in the Premier League, to be fair. I feel like he could probably stay at Wolves, be a rotation player. But to be fair, Patricio, I actually wasn't that surprised because I remember seeing a stat. I think he's got like the 2nd worst save percentage in the Premier League. So I wasn't actually that surprised when Sam said that.
When Liverpool beat Wolves a few months ago, we were terrible all game, and Patricio had Poppers on hands, and we beat him 1-0. Josh's weak shot was palmed into the corner.
Yeah, so my 3 ins, I've got Areola to come in and replace Patricio. I've got Ruben Semedo as a centre back to replace Roman Saiz because he's obviously Semedo's Portuguese, isn't he? So
yeah, decent player as well, not just Portuguese. He's also a centre half.
And then I've got a midfielder, Morten Thorsby from Sampdoria, because I feel like they need another midfielder.
Shouts. So I'll say my 3 that I've got in at Wolves. I've got Divock Origi coming in as a striker. Interesting one, I know. But he'd be a good
Outside the box.
be a good backup to Raul Jimenez when he's fit and ready. I've also got Gonzalo Guedes coming in as a replacement winger. Valencia are in a lot of financial trouble, and I feel like he has to move on for the sake of his career. And also, I've got Aaron Ramsey making a return to the Premier League with Wolves as João Moutinho's replacement.
That's very interesting, that is, actually.
Yeah.
Aaron Ramsey.
I've
always rated him quite highly, to be fair.
Yeah, to be
Creative player Wolves need.
I've massively copped out of one of my three because I've just said to sign Ryan Aït-Nouri on a permanent. Because I think, especially, obviously, the ongoing issues Johnny is having an injury. I think, for me, the two players they've got in to try and cover that position were him and Marcel. And I think he's, not only is he the younger of the two, I felt he was the better performer of the two.
Yeah.
So I think no harm in getting him on a permanent. I've then got an Ainsley Maitland-Niles because he looks like he's on his way out at Arsenal because I don't think Arteta is going to send him on loan to West Brom if he was in his plans, really. And he can cover in midfield on the wing or at wing back, which is good for Wolves. And I've gone for a standard Portuguese player. You have to get one of them in, don't you? I've gone with Rafael Leao as striker at AC Milan, falling out of favour because obviously Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been incredible over there, so he's not getting much of a look in. But he is a decent young player coming through and could provide backup to Raul Jimenez, if not give him a bit of competition.
Great shouts.
Great
shouts. I think we've done a good job with that. Yes, it's run on for a very long time. Nearly an hour and a half worth of footage over 2 episodes, but we've done it, and it brings an end to part 2 of our Premier League ins and outs program. So we hope you've enjoyed. Thank you for sticking with us on this. We know it's been a long 2 episodes, but hope everyone takes care, and we shall see you very, very soon.
Cheers.
Bye.